Semi-finals, baby! You know, I never plan. Well, actually, that's a lie. I sometimes plan what I'm going to say in the first kind of intro. I usually just kind of press go live and then just say whatever comes to mind. And that is genuinely what came to mind. So, that's what we're going with this morning. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you for dealing with all the audio and internet inadequacies of the last few days while I've been in Madrid, of course. Thank you so much, everybody listening and tuning in. It is always very much appreciated. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing well. This is indeed the Arsenal news show, of course, on the Gooner Talk every single morning at 8 a.m. Good morning to you all. Those joining us in the chat box, Matt G, Black Shine, Martin, Zoom, Paul, Stevie, Evan, Arisilki, Stevens, Shari. We've got Loga and Carlton and Evan. We've got Claire and James and Zoom. We've got Barry and Paul. We've got Raphael. Good morning to you all. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you've had a fantastic week so far. You've made it to Friday, and the weekend is indeed just around the corner. Arthur says, good morning, Tom. Why were you talking so fast yesterday on TalkSport? I've had so many people say this to me. I think the reason I was talking quite quickly yesterday, as you heard as I was on, I was sitting in the airport at the gate for my flight back to the UK, and I was waiting. Basically, the boarding time was 1:15 or 2:15. 1:15 UK time, 2:15 Spanish time, and I was watching the queue go down as I got called onto the show, and I said to the producer, I was like, we're boarding at 1:15 UK time. You're asking me to come on at 1:15. I may have to shoot off. And I think because in my mind, I was so kind of urgent to know that I had to get on the plane, that when I was being asked the questions, my brain was like, I couldn't even think. I listened back to it and I was like, that's some of the worst radio analysis I've ever done. I felt bad because they're very kind to ask me on, of course. But yeah, I was in my brain was very much in this state of rush and in this state of, I've got to do this interview. I've got to get on this plane. The queue's getting shorter. If I don't get on, I'm going to miss my plane. And I think that led to me being quite fast. I got home and my missus rang her dad because we were having a big conversion done in the house at the moment, and just to kind of show him. And he was like, "Oh, I thought I heard you on TalkSport, but I couldn't hear what you were saying because you were talking so quickly." So clearly, everyone watching or listening to that point of TalkSport in that day was like, "God, this guy talks so fast, so quickly." I might send the producer a text later now. Just being like, I'm so sorry I talk so fast. I think it was just the stress of knowing that the plane was about to leave that caused me to do that. I would be terrible. I'm terrible under pressure, clearly, is what it is. Anyway, good morning to you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. It greatly is appreciated. I'll talk in a more of a normal speed of tone and the normalness that you've come to appreciate now. But thank you for tuning in. Do drop a like, subscribe, all the usual YouTube stuff. I want to start the show today with a big notice for a good friend of our show who we never, ever insult or criticize or make fun of or take the mickey out of. But if you are a subscriber of Mr. Charles Watts, then you need to do something for me. If you felt like I've been mean to Charles over the last couple of weeks about the fact that he couldn't go to the home game when we beat Real Madrid 3-0, that he couldn't go to the home game when we won 3-0 over Real Madrid, you need to do something for me. Charles, in his infinite wisdom, did a boo-boo while he was out in Madrid and accidentally deleted his entire audio podcast. So you need to go to Inside Arsenal. Basically, what you can do is you can go to his Twitter feed, which, of course, he has all the links there. Tweet starts off with, right, to all the loyal Inside Arsenal podcast subscribers and listeners, you need to go to the Inside Arsenal on your Spotify, on your Apple, on Acast, wherever you listen to your audio podcast. Please subscribe, listen to his brand new version of Inside Arsenal, because I have to tell you, I cannot imagine the panic and the raw anger and frustration if I did what Charles did by accident. And it was a complete accident. It can happen to anyone. You know, you're in that emotional state after the game. You're trying to upload a show. You upload the wrong audio or whatever, and you know, it can happen to anyone. And it is an awful reality to have that. Imagine losing such a key part of your career, your job, effectively. So if you are a listener, if you aren't a listener, please go over to the Inside Arsenal show on any of the audio platforms. The YouTube's fine. It's all there. And if you watch on YouTube, great. But please help Charles's audio side of things, because he had tens of thousands and maybe hundreds of thousands of listeners, and to see a whole podcast go, and you know, that side of your job disappear in a split second that can't be reversed is just something I dare not think of. So please go over. And sadly, you can't reverse it. Customer support at Acast isn't able to kind of get that back. Once it's gone, it's gone. So please do help him out as he tries to regrow Inside Arsenal on an audio side of things. But that's the last of the admin that you'll have from me this morning. And I will be leaving a little time code for those listening back, that if you want to skip straight to the news, here we go with the news. Right. European roundup last night. Of course, all the action from the Europa League and the Conference League. This is for our special listeners who say, why are you talking about Man United? Because it's funny, even though they went through. What an entertaining game at Old Trafford last night. Man United 5, Lyon 4 in added time. 7-6 on aggregate sees Man United go through to face Athletic Club in the semi-finals. A brilliant matchup between two really, really good sides. I couldn't even get through that sentence. Between a really good side and Manchester United. Meanwhile, on the other side, Tottenham managed to pull off a pretty impressive win, actually, in Frankfurt. 1-0 victory in Germany. They will now go through to face Bode Glimt. Of course, Arsenal fans will be very much aware of Bode Glimt, and playing in the freezing cold of Scandinavia. But Spurs have got a really, really good chance of reaching the Europa League final now. Ange Postecoglou could indeed be winning a trophy this season. We pray it doesn't happen, but it could. If I wasn't supporting a club that are in a Champions League semi-final, I guess I would be less bothered. I would be more bothered by this, but I'm just really not. And hopefully Bode Glimt can pull off an amazing victory. Let's wait and see. In the UEFA Conference League, Chelsea managed to make the simplest of tasks after winning 2-0. Winning 2-1 in 3-1. In Warsaw. The toughest of jobs, going 2-1 down to Legia Warsaw at Stamford Bridge. Still, there was well over half an hour left with the 2-goal difference in place. Enzo Maresca's kind of feeling and situation there is just kind of mad at this point. Real Betis go through as well. Fiorentina have gone through, and I did this last time, didn't I? And Djurgården, I'm sure I've pronounced that. Djurgården, maybe, is the better way to pronounce it. Our listeners will tell me if I'm wrong. I believe our Swedish listeners will be able to tell if I'm wrong. So please forgive me for that. But they go through over Rapid Vienna in quite an impressive victory for them. And yeah, now the UEFA Conference League sees Chelsea face that Djurgården in the next round, whereas Real Betis will play Fiorentina. So Chelsea will indeed be facing one of either Fiorentina or Real Betis, we imagine, in the final, unless they are knocked out by the Swedish side. But it is unlikely that would take place. Right, moving to the Champions League. The team of the week was indeed released. Arsenal with two representatives in that lineup. Donnarumma making the goalkeeper position over David Raya. Benjamin Pavard and Lautaro Martinez were the two Inter Milan inclusions in the team. The other PSG was Nuno Mendes at left back. Aston Villa held two players, Ezri Konsa and John McGinn. Pascal Gross and Sekou Guirassy were the two Borussia Dortmund inclusions. Michael Olise was on the right-hand side. Interesting, there's no Barcelona additions to this here. Rather unsurprising, seeing as Dortmund did win that game. And 2 Arsenal inclusions. Declan Rice, rather unsurprisingly, who, of course, won the man of the match against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu. The other, Jakub Kiwior. Absolutely brilliant. Jakub Kiwior in the Champions League Team of the Week after playing Real Madrid in the Bernabeu. Amazing. Amazing inclusion, and shows you such where his stock has risen to at this point. I wrote a piece that's gone out this morning actually about Jakub Kiwior and about how kind of what this means for his future, what it could mean, moving forwards for him as well, what it could mean for his value in the summer, what it could mean for him as a potential financial asset, but also whether or not Arsenal should even be thinking of letting him leave. Are they going to be able to sign somebody better? What if it changes the future of a player like Ricardo Calafiori instead? I've had a few interesting conversations with people around like Ricardo Calafiori, and I'm interested to see that maybe his future is not as certain as many think that it might be, but yet to get much on that. And of course, we hopefully will get more on that soon. Wrong caption here. I don't know. This isn't Joan Garcia. In fact, I don't even know if I'm seeing it now. Have I changed the? I did change the others, just this slide for some reason. But Alexis Sanchez paid tribute to Arsenal's win over Real Madrid, posting to his Instagram page with the North London Forever soundtrack in the background. In football, there are loves that you never forget, with an infinite symbol. Arsenal. 2 love hearts. So Alexis there celebrating Arsenal's success in the Bernabeu. Carlo Ancelotti spoke after the game and insisted that he hopes that it is Arsenal that win the Champions League after seeing his side knocked out comfortably by the Gunners. Obviously, he was spoken to by media after the game, sitting in that press conference with my translation headpiece on, and he was getting grilled, it's fair to say, by Spanish media. Questions of, will he resign? Will he leave? Would he end his time with the club at the end of the season? And news dropped yesterday from Spain suggesting that Ancelotti could leave before the season even finishes. There's suggestions that he could leave the club after the conclusion of the Copa del Rey, where they face Barcelona, of course, in the final. So quite the pain that Arsenal and Arteta have instilled on Ancelotti and Real Madrid in the wake of that defeat. Last kind of story, transfer-wise, though, Atletico Madrid are said, according to David Medina, who is very well connected when it comes to Atletico Madrid, Atleti are said to have taken the lead in the race to sign Thomas Partey. There is no suggestions that Arsenal will be renewing the player's contract. I know that you may have saw some stories over the last few days from somewhere suggesting that Arsenal are yet to make a decision on Partey, or he is yet to make a decision on his future, that there had been talks. Can I just say there have been no talks on the side of things regarding Thomas Partey and a contract with Arsenal, to our knowledge, to the understanding, as of yet. And it's not just me, several others as well. No contract discussions are ongoing with Arsenal. And there is the expectation right now that he will leave at the end of his contract with the club in the summer. And finally, Mikel Arteta will indeed be facing the press at the end of, not the end of this morning. He will be facing the press at the start of the afternoon. I will be there at the Shelby Royalty Training Centre to hear from Arsenal's manager ahead of the game against Ipswich on Sunday, where they'll be taking on another relegation. I mean, they're destined, aren't they? They're destined for relegation, are Ipswich. Mikel Arteta will be speaking. He'll be, I assume, asked plenty about the game with Real Madrid if he's allowed to face more of those questions. And indeed, we'll probably hear some stuff on Ricardo Calafiori, his situation. Will there be any further updates on some of the other players that are still recovering from injury, like Kai Havertz? We will have to wait and see. But Mikel Arteta, indeed, yes, facing the press this afternoon. And I look forward to being up there. You can follow all the updates from that press conference, of course, as usual, in my live blog on the football.london website. Right, let's go to part 2 and your questions and more right after this. I've just realised, did I unpack it? I must have unpacked it. Or maybe when you, because obviously I'm flying quite a lot more these days. And if you're flying, we don't do like, I don't get a suitcase like that. You just kind of get your carry-on. And Yes, I do have it. Well, I've made it a mission. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know this because I've been posting. I should post it on Blue Sky as well. I need to be better at posting things on Blue Sky more. But what I'm trying to do is buy a fridge magnet at every single European club I visit. So Real Madrid are now indeed joining the collection. It means that PSG will be joining that too. In fact, I've booked travel yesterday for that game against PSG. For those that didn't know, the fixture has indeed been confirmed. Arsenal will be playing PSG on May 7th in Paris. The first leg, though, takes place on April 29th on Tuesday at the Emirates. So next week, we have Ipswich this weekend. Of course, next week, there is a game against Crystal Palace on Wednesday. Arsenal are not playing that weekend because Crystal Palace are in the FA Cup semi-final. It means we have a weekend off before we play against PSG, which is obviously a massive boost for us. It's a real benefit for Arsenal, that not having that kind of week of action, if you like. But PSG at home on Tuesday, the 29th of April. And then on May 7th, Arsenal go to Paris on that Wednesday to face the Parisian club. Fridge magnets, it's got to be done. Got to be done. The Real Madrid store is quite the impressive kind of... quite the impressive thing, if you will. But also quite impressive was the nice Real Madrid lanyard with the accreditation. I don't know if you can even see that, but it's kind of like very official. There you go, Real Madrid with the accreditation on. So, it was quite the trip, quite the experience, and plenty of little, souvenirs collected from the time, plus a 5-1 victory, which I can't really complain about. Right, let's jump to the chat box, shall we, and tackle some of your questions in the chat. Scroll up a little bit more, see if I've missed any over the last few seconds. If you use a capital Q, it does help them stand out. Maxine says, "Hi Tom, please can you explain why Arsenal are at home in the first leg? Who makes these decisions?" So it was done in a draw. When Arsenal were drawn against PSV in the last 16 of the Champions League, they were also drawn against Real Madrid or Atletico Madrid at home in the first leg, and then they were drawn against the winners of either Aston Villa or PSG, or who else was it? Who were the others? Club Brugge and Liverpool, I think it was, in the other semi-final. So it was drawn ages ago that Arsenal would be at home first. I don't mind being at home first. Get the lead, get that position at home, go into the next leg like we did against Real Madrid. I actually turned my mind around on these things. I think it's of a benefit to us. Charles says, Timber White, Saliba, Tommy, Gabby, Kiwior, Calafiori, Skelly. That's not bad if fully fit. We just need to reshuffle them in the market to be kind of where we want to be. Union says, why would we not want to keep Partey? I guess there's obviously the injury side of things we talk about a lot here, the wages, the increase in that, and the fact that they kind of have the opportunity to sign a player that Arteta has been very keen on for a long time in Martin Zubimendi, obviously younger, more reliable in terms of his attendance, and the potential, of course, to raise the ceiling higher now and in the future, potentially as well. John says, Tom, who from the UEFA Champions League semi-finals are the favourites to win the trophy? I don't know, John. I honestly think that any of those... I pressed the mute button for some reason. Any of those four teams could win the competition. Any of those four. It really, really genuinely could be anyone. It's a story, whatever happens. Barcelona win the Champions League under Hansi Flick would be quite the achievement in his first season. Inter Milan, first Champions League since Jose Mourinho, of course, won it all those years ago. And probably you would say, in terms of just player for player, the underdogs of the competition, but collectively one of the best teams, defensively, especially in the competition. And then, of course, PSG never won the competition in their history, neither have Arsenal. One of the two teams, of course, that have never won the Champions League will indeed be in the final this year. So there's stories all around for these teams. Ashley says, I'm so angry at Partey because he misses the game because of the yellow card. I get it, Rudiger was dirty the whole game and you want to stick up for your teammates, but only consolation is that he misses the home match and not the away game. Yeah, it is very, very frustrating. Henko says, how expensive were the flights? I'm going by Eurostar to Paris and still very expensive. Yeah, it's not a surprise, is it? it's not a surprise at all. I think we were in that situation where we knew that they were going to be very pricey. I think even for Munich, the final already, things are exceptionally expensive. Jay Collins says, what's your feelings towards Alexis Sanchez? I feel the way he left the club completely burnt the bridge, and now his career is coming to an end. He's trying to rebuild that relationship. To be fair, he's been trying to do that for years. Almost as soon as he left, he regretted that decision. I appreciate Alexis for what he did during the years at Arsenal. He didn't really achieve too much with Manchester United, so I'm not really fussed. It's not like Van Persie who went and won the league there. Alexis, was offered silly money to go there. Arsenal were unable to offer the same level of money. And obviously, Man United were competing at a higher level at that point than Arsenal. Not anymore, but it's a shame the way things have, of course, kind of gone at this point. Ronald says, Hato or Husen? Which of these would you like to see in the summer? I think Hato makes more sense because he's more versatile than Husen is. I think obviously he's more gettable as well because I think that there'll be clubs offering Husen the opportunity to play more regularly from the start than perhaps Arsenal will. But we're going to have to wait and see which one it turns out Arsenal move for. Both two very, very good young defenders. Shane says, Tom, apart from Miles Lewis-Skelly's talent, do you think his cheeky arrogance was required for his team? I think all great teams have at least one of these players. So you've probably seen the videos released of Lewis Skelly shouting "Vamos" and the water bottle and all of that. It's his personality. It's who he is, and it's just part of who makes him him. It's how he's so confident. It's how he takes the players on. He's got no fear, and he really does just enjoy all of what he does. So very interesting. With the bookies, who are the favourites? Let's have a look, shall we? Champions League winner favourites. The odds at the moment. So Arsenal are considered third favourites. Barcelona are the favourites at 2-1 or evens? Are they at? Barcelona are considered favourites at 2-1, I think. PSG by most are considered second favourites at 9-4. So slightly more than 2-1. Arsenal are considered third favourites at 5-2 by many, many bookies. And Inter Milan are considered last favourites at 9-2. So you could argue that leads us into thinking it'll be a PSG-Barcelona final. Or that obviously if Arsenal do make it, that they'll be playing Barcelona in the final. But I honestly think it could go anyway. I think any of them are capable of winning this competition. And they're all very, very good teams. Knowledge says, how many Spanish media do you think will be at the presser considering the clear and obvious connections? Do you think overall there will be more coverage of Mikel in the future? I don't know if there'll be more, going forwards at Premier League games. You do tend to have some Spanish media there anyway. There've always been some Spanish media at Arsenal games because, of course, you've got the Spanish connections with some of the players in the team, like Mikel Merino and David Raya. But, of course, also Mikel Arteta being there is another element of it as well. And now Arsenal are going to be in the Champions League semi-finals, having beaten Real Madrid. Then maybe there will be more attention on those press conferences. Biscuit Me Muncho says, I'm going to say Arsenal beat PSG and play Barca in the final. There is something quite imaginative and nostalgic about Arsenal and Barcelona in a Champions League final. I don't know if who would I rather have? I feel like Inter Milan really would have a good opportunity to beat Arsenal, and I feel like maybe Barcelona would suit Arsenal similar to what we wanted with Real Madrid and maybe now PSG stylistically, but we've got to get past PSG first before we can start thinking about any finals. Charles says, Tom, which role do you really see Skelly thriving in more? I want to say the Partey role, but I'm scared he won't deliver there. I think he needs to stay at left back. He's doing an excellent job there. Keep him there. I think that's the way forwards for him. It could be an opportunity to see him play in midfield with Partey suspended, that we have Calafiori back. Calafiori goes at left back, and then we see Miles Lewis-Skelly in midfield, but who knows? There are multiple opportunities, multiple options for Arteta to choose from. Paul says, I fancy Inter Milan to knock out Barcelona as great as they can defend well, but also carry a goal threat. John says, when everyone was waxing lyrical about Waneri, my nephew who's at Watford's academy told me to watch out for Lewis Skelly. He's brilliant. Who else in our academy should we be looking out for? Obviously, the main one that we're all aware of is Max Dowman and his talent as well. In terms of kind of the other players, though, we have been talking about a few of them. Luis Osevich-Jordan is one to look out for. Harriman Anous, good young player as well. Scrolling down the list a little bit more, see if any pop into mind. Look, Louis Copley's quite impressive. I enjoy watching him. Michael Rosiak as well. Jimmy Gower's had a decent season as well. That's why he's been on the bench a couple of times for the senior team this kind of time around. And Braden Clark, defender, signed him on a free after he left Wolves. He's one to look out for. Will Sweet, good young player as well. So Jack Porter is highly rated as a goalkeeper. Plenty of players, of course, that Arsenal could end up signing. Dan Casey says, Paul, one to look out for. Marley Salmon, yes, good shout, Rich. I've spoken to Marley Salmon, and he knows he's not kind of overawed by kind of the feel of the levels of ages above him, let's say, and he's got a good solid head on his shoulders. Cader O'Neill says, Rich, obviously recently signed a brand new professional contract as well. And congratulations to him. He's done very well since his trial at the club, and it seems to be going in a really positive direction for him as well. Kwame says, I am going for us to win in extra time against Barca by 1 goal. Imagine if that would happen. Just a 1-goal win in extra time in the Champions League final. Akira says, do you think that we should go for Marino in the midfield and Trossard up front for the first leg? Trossard is very good at finding the spaces and could be a good option. I'm really stuck on this. I think there's a number of different things that we can try. I think we've got 2 games, of course, coming up to trial it as well. I would quite like to see Partey probably not start the game against Palace next week and us given the opportunity. I think Palace will rotate quite a few players, of course, ahead of the semi-final in the FA Cup as well. So I think that's a good game for us to kind of think about who we should play in that game against PSG, what we should be looking to do. I think it's a really good opportunity, that Palace game, to kind of trial without Partey there and give, but at the same time, do you want to give PSG the opportunity to see what we're going to do, what we're going to pick? But you can put it into practice in that game with 6 days, a 6-day gap between the two. So there's different options, of course, to choose from. Major Lee says, would you be more disappointed in the United winning or Spurs winning? Spurs winning, of course. I don't want Spurs winning anything. That's just how it works. Patrick says, imagine how good we would have been last season if Timber didn't get that injury. The first game, what a consistent performer so soon after a terrible injury. He's my player of the season so far. It's very close between him and it was Gabriel before his injury. David Raya, I think, has got a shout as well. Lewis Skelly could be in with a shout as well. But Julian Timber, for me, is my player of the season at this point. Amazing. Absolutely brilliant what he's done this year. Unreal. Dwayne says, Tom, what are your thoughts on Ødegaard's form going forwards? Again, another one where we think we've kind of tackled this every single day almost. It's worrying, it's a concern, and Arsenal have to be ruthless moving forwards in the market. And, we should be bringing in players to compete. And at the moment, he's not really got too much competition. So that in itself it doesn't help the form, I guess, because it doesn't put him under necessarily any pressure. But I think he's still under plenty of pressure from fans. Maximius says, hi, Tom. I genuinely think Inter Milan are the most dangerous team in the mix. I rate it as follows: Inter, Arsenal, Barca, PSG. Woof. John says, it must be great for our academy players to see there is a pathway to the first team from the likes of Saka, Wineri, Lewis Skelly. I love seeing academy players make it. It's so different than buying players, of course, as well. But it doesn't happen as much as what we see with Arsenal. There's a lot of emphasis, really. Do Arsenal give debuts to players? Is Arteta giving enough chance to youth players? Obviously, the answer we know is yes. But it doesn't happen as frequently as what we are seeing here at this level. Man City have kind of used this season as an opportunity, if you like, to give players like McAtee and O'Reilly the opportunity to play more games. And it's benefiting them, but it's also hurt them. Because while they've had players like Rodri and that missing, they've used the season where they know they're not really in the league any. They've still got a chance, of course, qualifying for the Champions League, but they know they can probably get there and still play their youngsters where they're going to use, the kind of key players, the FA Cup, that they've still got to go ahead and try and win when they face. Who are they playing? Is it who is the other FA Cup? Forest in the semi-final. Chris says, Tom, considering we play on Wednesday, who would you rest on Sunday? I don't know. I don't think we need to rest players. We've got, that big break between Palace and PSG. Let's build up that momentum. Let's get back to winning ways in the league. Win this game this weekend. I'd be starting players, giving them minutes, keeping them match ready, match fit, giving Saka more chances to start. I know we're under this kind of feeling that you don't want to risk them at all with what we've got coming up, but there is a balance that you need to find in keeping players match fit, match ready, and rest and rotation. So White, I think, comes in. I think you can play, players like maybe Tierney, give Lewis Skelly a bit of a rest, then play him against Palace. So you can rotate a few. Trossard, I think, can come in, but I think we also need to stay relatively strong. I think that's really, really important. And I think we're about done. Paul says, will this summer be the focus on bringing players in who aren't going to be a project but are ready to start and are peaking? Yeah, I think so. My understanding is Arsenal are going to be very busy this summer. That's what I've heard. That's what I've been told. That's how when I speak to people around the club, that's the sense that it's going to be a very, very busy summer. So let's wait and see. Let's see what happens. There's a real ambition, of course, to not just win things like the Champions League and the league, but to dominate. And to do that, you're going to have to spend, and they know that. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the summer, but I'm more looking forward to the end of this season and what Arsenal can do in the Champions League. Have a fantastic day. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectfully. If you want to keep up to date with Mikel Arteta's press conference, you can do so from lunchtime on the Football.London website. All of his quotes and everything in terms of the full written transcript will be available on the website soon after it's finished. And of course, we'll tomorrow be doing a preview before heading up to Ipswich for the game. It's what, a 5:30 kickoff? No, it's not. It's a 2 o'clock kickoff. What am I talking about? So I'll probably be leaving the house about 10, driving up to that game. It's actually quicker for me to drive to Ipswich than it is to get a train, believe it or not. So that'll be happening on Saturday. Enjoy a Sunday. So I keep getting the time and the day wrong. Sunday, 2 o'clock, Ipswich Town. Stay safe, stay well, stay happy, respectful, and as always, up the Arsenal.